Peterbot and Pollo just had the most dominant season we've ever seen in the entire history of Fortnite. But their dominance actually started last season when we saw them do extremely well in the Cash Cups and even came second place in FNCS, which many completely forgot about since Acorn and Cold won by almost 200 points. When this season dropped, everyone was scrambling to find out the meta and which new POIs were the best. Little did everyone know though, Peter and Pollo was already ahead of everybody else, being the first team to announce they were landing at Grimgate in order to claim the Cerberus Medallion, which we would quickly learn is the most broken item we have ever seen inside of Fortnite. Having said that, they obviously weren't the only ones with the same idea to land there. In fact, Acorn and Cold would also decide to change their drop too. In the very first Cash Cup finals of the season, we would see them go head to head to determine who was better at this new POI. And well, to say Peter and Pollo destroyed them would be an understatement. After only 3 games, they made the reigning FNCS champions leave, which resulted in them winning the Cash Cup. Nobody knew it quite yet, but this was just the beginning of their reign over NA Central, and countless records were about to be broken. And in the very next Cash Cup, that's exactly what they would end up doing, going on to win 5 out of the 6 games. Unfortunately, not winning the last one because they got dropped on by a bunch of other teams. After breaking the record for wins in a Cash Cup, Peter wasn't done quite yet. Next, he needed to set the world record for kills in the Solo Victory Cup. After trying to be the first player to get over 40 kills in the finals for the last 2 seasons, Peterbot would finally end up doing it, making the kill record now at 43 with the help of Grimgate. Everyone knew this drop was OP, and after seeing what they could do when being uncontested most of the time, it was already looking like they'd run away with the FNCS win, unless another team contested them. Now so far, even when contested, we've seen them still do well, since it seemed like they had already perfected their drop. However, the teams contesting them before, for the most part, weren't the best players. But soon, things were about to get interesting. That was because 2 other pros, Quanti and Chubbs, decided to try and save the region by dropping on them. We really got to see how this would play out in the very next Cash Cup finals. And for the first time this season, Peterbot and Pollo were starting to look human, until they ended up getting 3 wins in a 4th, once again winning the tournament, still by a large margin. Now even though they still ended up winning, Quanti was able to make them not do so good in 2 games, and this was his first time contesting them, so it was looking like Peter and Pollo could end up being stopped. Nevertheless, the FNCS Open qualifiers were here, and who would have thought Peter and Pollo continued playing well, finishing at 6th and 1st during the 2 weeks in finals, meaning they finished 1st on the series point leaderboard, being the most consistent team in the region. But something would happen during that 2nd week of qualifiers which would determine their fate this season. I just mentioned how Quanti and Chubbs decided to drop at Grim, but unknown to Quanti, right before the week 2 qualifiers started, Chubbs would decide to stake him and play with a new teammate. After this happened, Quanti wasn't having it and decided to team up with Byla and now land where Chubbs' new drop was, meaning he left Grimgate. This was a blessing for them. Even though Peter and Pollo were still doing phenomenal while conned, one less good team there could change everything. After all that happened, the last Cash Cup of the season was finally here, and everyone was wondering if it was possible for them to get a perfect match history by winning every single game. So with all the pressure on them, it was time to see if they could pull through.
30 white right here, 30 white. Dead, I killed him. Dead.
Spray. 30 white, dead.
Full kill because he has no heals. Actually, he has a med kit. He didn't pop it.
You know what factory I'm talking about?
Dead, kill 1.
Nah, no.
Dead, kill 2.
That kid was too early.
Let's go.
First time.
Dead. Dead. Maybe go back. Nice. Dead.
Hold on.
Dead.
Nice.
I'm looking for kills. Dead. We need 10 kills though. Dead.
Dead.
Peterbot and Pollo would do it, winning every single game of the Duo Cash Cup, all while still being contested, ending with an over 350 point lead on 2nd place. If everyone didn't already think they were going to win FNCS, now it was for sure. And of course, when it came time to the semifinals, they would qualify to Grands after winning the last game of day 1. But things once again were about to get interesting. After everyone marked down where they were dropping for the Grand Finals, it looked like Peter and Pollo were about to be contested by 3 other teams. But after a whole bunch of crazy stuff with players getting banned then unbanned, when the day came to play, there was now only 1 team contesting them. So far this season, they were on pace to make history. All they needed to do was win FNCS. So with all eyes on them, it was time to see what they could do on day 1.
4 bullets. 9, 5 solos. Nice. Right. No.
Wasting mats and I'm 1 HP. Where's Evan?
I think we dropped. 60 white, 60 white, better than perfect.
Having. Dead!
Nice.
Nice!
Oh my god.
Go, bro! Dead. Dead. Under, in my box,
Left go. Look, Peter, stop. Come on.
Nice.
God. You're in, buddy.
Who would have thought after day 1, Peterbot and Pollo were in first place, and for that team that was supposed to be contesting them, well, they were nowhere to be found. After getting 2 wins and a bunch of other good games, they were looking unbeatable, and considering 3 of those games, one of them was solo for the entirety of the endgame, it would be very hard for a team to overtake them. But interestingly enough, they didn't actually have a massive lead, only being in first by 120 points. Now this is a lot, however, on day 2 there was a 1.5 times multiplier, and with Kanata and Cooper playing extremely well that day, it wasn't crazy to think that they could pull off an upset. Having said that, it wasn't the only thing that could result in them losing. We've already established time and time again how good Grim is, and for those teams who are at the very bottom of the leaderboard, it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to change their drops and give it a shot at Grim. With this in mind, if a few other teams decided to do this as well, it could really mess up Peterbot and Pollo, even though they are some of the best fighters in the entire game. So going into day 2, we were about to see if that would actually happen. And well, not a single team decided to drop on them, somehow still being uncontested. This really just shows how terrified good players are to even think about fighting them. But still, from what I just said earlier, they weren't in the clear quite yet. So with the point multiplier being activated on day 2, we were about to really see if they had what it took.
Sorry, boss. 100. I kicked him off light, He's dead.
Dead, kill one.
Don't so high.
100. 30 white.
Dead. Nice.
Bro. Oh.
Nice. Normal fight. Yeah, 30.
150. Dead.
We need to go more up.
Okay.
Try to get the mats here.
Dead. Fire right here.
Nice.
Nice.
Go, bro! On God, it is too easy, bro.
After the first 3 games, they were able to win 2 of them, increasing their lead by almost 300 points. At this point in the tournament, you had to have thought that there was no way they couldn't win. But then in game 10, they would go down in 30th, getting 0 points, by far their worst game yet. Now this was a stretch, but if they performed poorly in the last 2 games, it was possible for Reet and Ritual to make the comeback of a lifetime. However, this is Peterbot and Pollo, so of course, they were about to finish strong in the last 2 games.
How is he going? He's going high.
Put a wall. Nice. Lock.
Popping big. Get in. Press. Got them both.
Dead. I have all.
Metal face.
Pulls
Metal
up
Pollo.
Pulls up the hip.
One for no scope, okay? Dead.
Don't feed them the splashes.
Dead. Oh
Nice.
my God.
With a poetic ending to this season, winning the very last game of the Grand Finals, Peterbot and Pollo were crowned the FNCS champions on NA Central. And if it couldn't get any sweeter, they would end up breaking the point record in a Grand Finals, getting almost 1,100 points, winning by almost 350. And because of this, next season we might actually see something very interesting from them. But first, I need to mention how Peter ended up setting a bunch of world records like most eliminations and most damage ever done by a player in the finals. And I highly doubt we will ever see any of these records be broken again, let alone being able to win every single duo cash cup on top of it. There's also been some rumors going around that we might see them go over to EU next season to play FNCS, since they have already qualified for the $2 million global championship at the end of this year. Now I doubt this will happen, but if they do, it will be very interesting to see how they perform. But regardless of what happens down the road, Peterbot and Pollo have already cemented themselves in Fortnite history from this season alone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out these videos here. Have an amazing rest of your days. Peace out.